across the Mid-Atlantic region, specifically within DC and Greater Virginia. She works with exceptional customers in the private sector with primary focus to partner candidates and clients using her in-depth and deep knowledge of her expertise in marketing to ensure the unique match between individuals and companies. Her areas that she focuses on include construction project management, construction estimators, assistant project managers, engineers, superintendents, assistant superintendents. She's an expert recruiting qualified, professional, and skilled people worldwide. Hayes is the #1 followed recruiting company on LinkedIn. And for 50 years, they've used their expertise to accelerate careers and transform businesses. Prior to joining Hayes, Jenny was with the Merito Group, where she was a senior associate recruiter. Merito Group is a boutique consulting firm, a certified woman in business, offering talent acquisition services across a variety of industries. Her training is has a bachelor's degree from the University of Louisville and a master's from the Hebrew University. Please join me in welcoming Jenny.
So all of that you read about Hayes and Merito is from marketing. I'm a lot more laid back and casual, so I apologize up front. And I have to say I was somewhat nervous, but got very nervous when I had to think of 3 words. And I'm glad I got to skip that one.
No, wait a minute. You were off the hook until you put yourself back on the hook. Okay, let's go. Jenny Hayes.
Yeah.
Recruiter.
There's so much pressure.
And so you're Jenny Hayes, you're a recruiter in the construction industry. Anxious.
You can bend the rule like everyone else.
Two more.
Under pressure.
No.
Oh, I can't get help.
No. You know lifelines.
No. Enjoying this.
Anxiously enjoying.
Tonight.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Well.
She never came back.
So today, I do work with a recruiting agency, and we'll talk a little bit more about the recruiting ecosystem in a minute. I tend to talk fast. I don't have a Toastmaster background that Ken might have.
Yes.
But so if I'm talking too fast or too quietly, just raise your hand. Ask questions anytime. I'd rather just be interactive and interesting and relevant to you than just me talking about recruiting, because I can do that forever. Question for you all very quickly, and maybe I can give 3, 4 answers. But thinking back to the last job you had, how did you arrive there? How did you get it? Yes?
My friend.
Your what?
Asked to be a teacher.
Your friend said?
My friend said I asked to be a teacher.
Your friend asked you to be a
He
teacher?
told me I should be a teacher.
Okay.
And there you are. Okay. Great. Any other responses? Yes.
I was hired out of a class I was taking to take an internship.
Okay.
And it turned into a full-time.
Excellent. Okay. Maybe 2 others?
I actually, it was one of the, I think, only cold call employment that I received was through Indeed.
Okay.
And,
Wow.
Yeah.
High five.
You know, I
Miracles
know
to that.
someone.
Miracles to that. You're the one.
Yeah. Okay. Yes?
Ad in the paper, interviewed, was not offered the job, put on the wait list, and then when the person quit, I was offered the job.
Oh, fantastic. So, this is an experiment I do kind of frequently.
Yeah.
And just ask people how you found your last job. And typically, I don't get answers like my resume was on Indeed and the recruiter called me, which I'm very happy to hear that. That does happen. And it does happen that you apply to an ad and you get the job, but they met you first. So I don't know if we can exactly say you applied and got the job. But my point typically is this. That 80%, I'm sure you talk about this all the time, at 40 plus, is 80% of the time you will find your job through your network or through some sort of personal connection. Recruiters, we're not the best at finding people jobs, to be very, very honest. Probably if you all were in hiring positions before, I would guess that that's how you made most of your hires as well. You reached out to your associates, the people you managed, your own network, and probably found the first group of candidates that way. So, one thing you should know about me is I was not always a recruiter. I did not understand our ecosystem, as it were. And before I started recruiting, actually, I worked at Hertz Car Rental. Then I ran away to a guest ranch in Wyoming. And I can explicitly remember 2 phone calls with different recruiters in my career. The first one, I was so nervous, probably more nervous than I am right now. A recruiter called me from Hertz Car Rental. And I was like, yeah, a job. I graduated college in 2009, not the best time to graduate. And I came back to the States after studying some more and just thought, a recruiter from a company is calling me. This is a big deal. And little did I know, I had zero to be nervous about. Because thanks to nepotism, my uncle worked for Hertz. He gave the recruiter my name. All I had to do was breathe. And I probably would have made it to the next round. That's how recruiting works. If I get a nod from a hiring manager, I want to talk to this person, talk to them first, it's very likely I'm going to pass them on. Another experience with a recruiter, I had learned a little bit about recruiting while at the guest ranch. I read all of these books by people who are engaged in the job search. They all happen to be recruiters, and I thought, that is such an interesting job. I want to be one. I want to connect with them. I want to learn more about getting a job through a recruiter. So maybe like you all are here today. So I thought maybe recruiting or maybe travel. I know what I'll do. I will contact a travel recruiter. It made sense. And she was very gracious. And she said, yeah, give me a call, which is what I tell everyone too. If I'm being bombarded by emails and phone calls, like, yeah, call me at 6, I'm free, I don't know. So I called this. What is a travel recruiter? Great question. A travel recruiter works for travel companies and recruits people for the travel industry. So I thought, I love travel. She recruits for people in the travel industry. I'm going to call her and have this magic phone call, and I'll have a job in travel. Or in recruiting. Maybe she'll like me so much she thinks I should be a recruiter. So I called her, and she was like, who is this? What is this? And I said, you told me, I have your email, you told me to call you. And she, oh, yeah. This happens to me every day. This is my everyday. No. Yes, I did. What's your name? Jenny Hayes. I sent you an email 3 days ago. And what do you do? So I told her where I lived. Basically, I told her I have zero to offer you in terms of working in travel. And she said, in so many words, she said, thanks for calling. I'm sorry I can't help you right now. I can't place you. And I was kind of like, didn't we have a connection? You responded to my email. What's going on here? Well, the fact is, I was one of several hundred people she probably spoke to that week. And she was working with a group of, back to that, she was working with a group of companies that were paying her to find people with certain skills in the travel industry. I didn't have any of them. And so that was a little bit hard for me to receive at first, and now that I'm in recruiting, I understand that. Because there's a certain ecosystem here, especially with agency recruiting. And I hesitated to put this picture up here, but I thought,
Don't be the money.
yeah. So agency recruiting is a little bit icky sometimes. There's this ABC company over here, and they've exhausted their networks. They're really tired and anxious and haven't found anyone to fill this third seat yet. And my company over here is calling them, like, hey, you need help yet? You haven't filled the seat yet? Nope. And finally they say, okay, find us some people. So then we reach across to the talent pool, and we just start picking. And we act as the middleman the whole time. So my whole job, I tell people, is really this, to get this person to like this person, and this person to like that person, and I'm good. So there is a sense, particularly with recruiting agencies, that these people have the cash. They have, I'm working for them. And that sounds very, I don't want to tell you that because I love working with candidates and I love doing stuff like this. But at the end of the day, I have to find someone that they are going to hire. Now, you have tons of skills. There's tons of recruiting companies out there. I think there's absolutely worthwhile ways to engage and work with recruiters. But I just kind of want you to keep that in mind because I did not have that in mind when I first called the travel agency recruiter. But that's kind of what her day-to-day is based on and how she stays in business. So, as you probably know, there is a big job market out there, and the jobs you see on Indeed are just a really, really, really small portion of that. How many of you have gotten a job that was not posted that you're aware of? At least 2, at least 3. I would say most, 4. In fact, most of the jobs I'm working on day to day are not posted. I forget to post them half the time, and it's on me to post them. They're not posted in the sense that I find someone who seems great at the company I work with, and I say, hey, just talk to this person before you go home today, because it's going to be worthwhile, and I make a job. So this job market is quite big, and I would use my time camping out in there. And recruiters do typically have a better sense of this. So there's a lot of good reasons to work with recruiters and to talk to them, even if they seem like they're not helping you, because of that. So a few things, I guess, I'll bring up. Recruiters only find what they know exists. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Oh, most of the room. Great. I won't put everyone on the spot. But we are on the internet. We are online almost all day now. I don't know how things were in the past. I love to find people who aren't online because they've been hiding. But typically we don't. We're using things like LinkedIn, really LinkedIn probably more than anything else. And in Career Builder, Indeed, all the time, all day. We're looking at resumes, looking at backgrounds. Today I called 3 or 4 people from resumes they had online 4 years ago, and they're like, I've changed jobs twice since then. I was like, great, I have your phone number for the next time you change your job. Then there's also, this is where we would start, our personal network. So you can't control you can't control what I have in my personal network as much, but you can control how you appear online. We also use our internal database of people I talked to who changed their job 3 times in the last 4 years. I just updated that, and now I know. And then we post ads, but again, most of our hires, most companies' hires don't come directly through ads. So it's important to show up and Google. Second thing is recruiters are people too. Maybe I'm a little bit afraid to ask this, but how many of you have had bad experiences with recruiters? Just 5? Come on. You aren't being honest. There's probably most of you. And we have bad experiences with candidates too, because we're both working with people. I have my favorite candidates. I call this guy Randy like every day, just because I love to. And I probably could be calling anybody else, but he's on his 8th interview. I have not given up, and I am praying that he'll get a job next week. I am invested, right? And then there's some people, I know they'll get a job, and I'm like, I don't even want to work with you. So we are in a people business, and your job search is about connecting with people. So just based on this LinkedIn profile here, who do you want to connect with right now? Who do you want to talk to?
The one with picture.
The one with why?
See if
Because he's good looking. He's my cousin. That's my dad. They have no idea that.
To me, it's smart because
So that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is 100% true of recruiters as well. I think I have statistics on the next page. Adding a professional photo makes you 14 times more likely to be contacted. Again, I work with recruiters and say, I'm not messaging that guy if he doesn't have a picture. Well, you're 14 times more likely to be in a competitive market if you message this guy. But anyway, it's really important to just make yourself as approachable as possible because we're in the people business. How many of you have been on your LinkedIn in the last 3 weeks? Wow, this sounds very on top of things. And how many have more than 100 connections? Great, most people. That's great. So aim to have at least 100. If you can get to 500, great. The way LinkedIn, and I'll kind of go into the back of LinkedIn, I hope, before we get done here. But the way LinkedIn works is you're going to rise to the top a lot faster if you're active. You have more connections. And people will be able to see your profile based on the number of connections you have. opens up your network. If you want to build your network very fast, if you want to get to 100 or 500 connections, there's this thing called LinkedIn Open Networkers. They call themselves Lions. If you search Lions up here, there are lots of recruiters, lots of just regular people who basically will connect with anyone. So if you reach out, hi, you're a Lion, I want to connect with you, they'll say yes. And you can build your network very quickly that way. As far as putting your resume online, putting your LinkedIn online, I'll stop here. How many of you think recruiters are smart? Nobody is. Oh, two people. So 3 of you are being nice. We're not. So we get jobs, especially previously I was at a firm that did almost everything. We had a lot of opportunity there to work with those recruiters. But I was at a firm that did almost everything, so one day I'd have to find a Java developer with a TSSCI, and it would just go completely over my head. And another day I'd find something completely different. So I like to go home and do something else at night. And I didn't always learn what that meant. So if you are a rocket scientist, for instance, and the common term for what you do is rocket science, sure, list it on your profile, but also list what a recruiter might see on the job description from a hiring manager, an aeronautical engineer. I don't even know. But make your profile and your resume, everything that's going into the internet being funneled by this group of people who really don't know what you do, as clear as possible, with as many keywords as possible. Because while your next manager might look at your resume and say, this is what Brett does. He's a mechanical engineer. He can do X, Y, and Z. A recruiter will say, does this word match that job description? I don't think so. And if it's not immediately clear, you're next.
So on the
Yes.
said the teacher will just put implemented.
Here, well, that's a good question. If you're a teacher, what would you put? There are some things that are very, very clear, but I would have just a few friends look over your resume and say, hey, what do you think I do? And I would look at job descriptions for jobs you're applying for or jobs that you're interested in, and make sure that the keywords in those job descriptions are on your LinkedIn, on your resume, on your Indeed profile, etc. Same thing, if a recruiter calls you and I ask you, well, tell me about your experience in rocket science, and you just start dropping all these buzzwords, especially if I'm not specialized, which most recruiters aren't, it's going to be blah, 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 very, very quickly. And I'm looking at you, IT. Part of my firm is IT related, so there's so many out there, I'm sure you get bombarded. But I remember, even now, when I recruit some construction professionals, they start telling me stories, they start dropping buzzwords. We're not the people to do that for. We just want to know, do you fit in to this box I'm trying to put you in? Yes. Okay, let's move forward. So again, keywords, buzzwords. If you are interested in a certain type of job, I would look on Indeed and look at the job descriptions that are listed. Look at the words that keep reoccurring. If there is an acronym that you know without thinking about it, don't expect a recruiter to know that without thinking about it. Put the acronym, put in parentheses, what that stands for, because we're searching all of that stuff.
So where would you look at to find those buzzwords?
So I don't look at job descriptions posted on Indeed and on Monster, but if you find a general job description, or 10 ideally, that are kind of in your wheelhouse, make sure that the buzzwords on your resume match those things. And finally, we're lazy. I think very highly of this. So where should we be spending most of our time as recruiters that need to connect with people? This is maybe rhetorical. But what would you think? If most jobs are found just through your personal network, where do you think we should be spending our time? Places like here, yeah. Exactly. But we're not. We're doing what everyone else is doing. And we're like, I could make 40 phone calls today and connect with 40 people who have 40 more connections. Why don't we just go to LinkedIn and do some searching? So we're on LinkedIn. We're on Indeed. The really good recruiters don't do that, but don't assume most are. So you should definitely, if you're open and you're ready to speak with people, have your resume at these places. Yes.
Given that most recruiters use LinkedIn, that's their number one go-to. Is it necessary to be on multiple sites? I mean, if you have a strong LinkedIn profile.
That's a really good question. So I think it helps. I wouldn't say 10, but if I were really ambitious about it, I would have an Indeed resume, and I would have maybe a career builder, a monster, and then a LinkedIn. And the reason is agencies. So one, I work with companies that don't like to work with recruiters, understandably, and they'll go to Indeed first. So sometimes I'll call companies and they'll say, I'll start talking about a candidate, and they'll say, I've seen that person on Indeed. Well, they didn't see them on LinkedIn because they don't have they don't pay the extra stuff that I pay for to be on LinkedIn. But Indeed is searchable by anyone, so that's a big plus. LinkedIn, yes, we're there most of the time now because we're lazy, and it's the easiest. I think it's helpful. Any other questions?
So Jenny, can you share, to the extent you can,
Yeah.
you mentioned sort of the special version of, or alluded to the special version
Yeah.
of LinkedIn. What types of information?
Oh, we're gonna see. Do we have time?
Oh, I think so.
Okay, we'll get through this. We're gonna go to the other side. Yeah, I would say just about Indeed, Career Builder, some of these. One of the things that we search is how active you are on these networks or these job boards. So if you posted a resume a year ago, you are now old news. Get back on there, update something, because you can search by last login, and if it's been a year, and you're much less likely to get contacted. So I would say very, very active. Even if you're not getting any calls, you just want your resume to be at the front, so the day a recruiter does search, then you're at the top again.
Can I ask a quick follow-up
Yeah, of
on
course.
you mentioned earlier, be active, that's one of the metrics recruiters look for, or that's what the algorithm uses
Yes.
to bump you up. So in addition to not letting a year elapse until you update your resume, what other things factor into being active?
On like Indeed,
On Indeed or LinkedIn?
on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, again, I'll get to that in just a second. Indeed, it's really just when you logged in, if you make an update. I've seen people too, I think this is crafty, they can almost work in two industries based on their background, and they have two separate resumes that are keyword oriented to that industry, and I think it's brilliant because I found them once one way, and weeks later when I'm doing another search, I found them another way.
They have separate LinkedIn accounts?
Separate like Indeed resumes.
Oh,
that they
Indeed
posted.
resume.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So that's kind of my question. We hear a lot that you should, find a job that you're interested in and tailor your resume for that.
Okay.
And I'm having difficulty coming up with kind of a generic resume.
Sure.
Because I'm very broad and I don't want to be pigeonholed into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put multiple resumes up?
Yes, and to be fair, I have not done it, but people have, and it might require two different emails. I don't know that answer. Yes. And
I can tell you with a place like Career Builder and DICE, it just says you can upload as many resumes as you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, if I remember correctly, one of the things you agree to is you will only have a single account for
Okay.
you.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. So, one thing, we'll actually get to LinkedIn in a second. And this is an example of what we see on the recruiting of Indeed. So again, we'll always search location, we'll search job titles, but somewhere there's activity, and that's an important thing. On LinkedIn, not every recruiter, not every agency pays for what I'm about to show you. But one thing that we do search a lot is just those keywords in your profile. So are you open to new opportunities? Lots of people write this now, and it lets me know I'm not going to waste my time if I contact you, which is very, yes.
Now, LinkedIn added that little switch.
Oh, we're gonna see the switch.
Oh, okay,
That's
so-
a really good point.
But if you use the switches, should you still put some text like that in?
Yeah, so the switch, in just a second we'll go to the back end of LinkedIn and you'll see kind of where we can see who's open to opportunities. But that option on LinkedIn costs I want to say $5,000 a
Oh,
year,
right.
maybe more.
Wow.
It's incredibly expensive. So not every recruiter, not every agency, in fact most don't have that. I would say, I'm going to guess 20%, because it is an expensive function. So the more we can just be clear, and also if your own network knows you're open to opportunities, that should be a plus. Other things we look for, if you write I'm on contract or temporary position, again, I know I can reach out to you because you're more likely to answer me. And I don't like to be rejected as much as anyone, no more than anyone.
Now, you have unemployed on those lists. Is that, I would think that's a negative. Like that?
So in the economy right now is actually very tight, and it's I think the lowest unemployment it's been in like how many years? 20 years. Okay. So it's a great time to look for a job. It's not an easy time, but we are calling lots of people, and a lot of people aren't responding. So if I know, if you want to raise your hand and say, yeah, I'm not working, that's, again, I'm going to more likely reach out to you because I know I can call you about a contract job that could be interesting. I know I can call you about another job that maybe I wasn't sure about, but I know, hey, this really could be worthwhile for you. Yes?
So where do you put open to new opportunities?
So you can put this, some people put it in like their headline, some people put it in their summary, but I can search it, or anybody can search it, you can search it. And if it's in your tagline, your headline, your summary.
So you put it in your resume?
On your LinkedIn.
Oh,
On your
okay.
LinkedIn. There's also a tab which Ron brought up. It's actually, if you go to this has changed since I made this presentation, but if you go to your own personal profile, you have a note at the top that says, let recruiters know you're open to opportunities. Yes.
And that's there so that if you are currently employed, but you don't want your employer to know, you can flip that switch and only the recruiters will see it now.
Right.
Whereas if you put the text in there and your employer knows your profile, they'll see it.
Right. Yeah, that's probably not the best move. And then finally, just know that whatever you have out there in the internet, like you can also, whether it's Facebook, whether it's your Twitter account, your resume, like all of that, if you have your address on your resume, I highly, highly recommend you don't put your address because we can look at Google Earth. And do people do that? Yes.
Because why?
Why? Because it's just
Right, I know why.
There's no reason.
I agree with you, but I've heard a few contradictions to it, so I was just interested in mine.
So what I highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm just trying to adjust the lights to
Yeah.
That's
make
better.
it a little easier.
That's better?
Is that
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
that's good, thank you.
What I highly recommend is putting your zip code. So that is the most searched thing. I would not put your street address, put your zip code or the zip code where you want to work. That's the thing that we search most. If you have a resume, just an email address and a phone number, you're getting lost in the databases because almost every search we do, I say without exception, is based on where you live.
So if you're interested in working in several different locations, do you add several different?
This is
On your
great.
resume? Is that on your resume when you apply somewhere?
Upload it.
Where you upload it? I might. Because I'm going to search within 5 miles, within 10 miles, within 20 miles. The closer the better. Yes.
What do you mean by your written text?
What do I mean by that? What did I mean? I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't know what I meant.
You said zip code, you said the zip code we live in or where we like to work?
I would say where you like to work. So if you live in Hagerstown, Maryland, this happens to a lot of people we recruit because they work construction jobs. And I'm recruiting for a job here in DC. There's a lot of people in Hagerstown that commute to DC. But I'm going to say, who lives closest to DC? Okay, I'm going to search a 10-mile radius, 20-mile radius. Hagerstown is what, 50 miles away? They're getting a shaft if they have a Hagerstown zip code and want to work in DC.
So my interpretation to that last point was
Yes.
just anything you put is relevant. Any text that you write in.
That's probably what I meant.
Yeah.
Come to think of it.
It's going to be searched. So yeah, any text that you.
Yes, that's a good interpretation. Go with that. I think you're right.
So you put this information in the LinkedIn
When you
thing, information thing?
So,
For the zip code?
so
When you refer.
if you give me your phone number and I want to see what your Facebook profile looks like,
Oh.
Facebook has this thing where you can put in someone's phone number and your 80% of the time your profile comes up.
Oh,
So
wow.
anything you put is searchable.
Okay.
And do recruiters do this? People do it. Right?
Yeah.
Do all recruiters sit there and look at your Facebook profile? Typically no. But all these things I've posted, like I look at your Facebook, I'll look at your house. I've seen it, and I've also seen hiring managers.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just warning you. That's all.
Serious.
Okay. Since I think the topic was about how to work with recruiters, I think most people have. What's that?
What you forgot?
Exactly. Most people have had bad experiences with recruiters here. We are people. I'm as forgetful as anyone in this room. They're probably more forgetful. And I love the civil candidates that I work with that are just like follow up and are patient and gracious and there are times when I forget to call someone back and they call me and they say, hey, I think we were supposed to talk, and they're nice and I'm much more willing to work with someone like that. So as much as you might have a bad experience with someone, the more you just tap them on the shoulder, remind them you're there, the more likely they're going to work with you. And I can give you a number of examples of people I've worked with that have just kind of come back to me and that, like this guy Randy, who I'm just a huge fan of. I've talked to him for about 8 months now, weekly, and I think he'll be working next week, and I'm so excited. This is not me just like making this up. Like someone, you want to be that person in the recruiter's corner, right? Yes.
Can I have a question about, to build on the example or the suggestion you made, so if you've had a bad experience or just a non-responsive experience with a recruiter at firm X, not your firm, is that well poisoned for you broadly, or is it at all worth the while if you see that their colleague is working on another opportunity to try to cultivate a relationship with their colleague, or is it just sort of one and done?
Good question. No, I would say if you see their colleagues working on another opportunity, try your luck there. That happens at our firm as well. There's certain candidates I'm big fans of that my colleagues aren't, and vice versa. So yeah, yes.
How do you best meet up with a recruiter or find a recruiter that works in your area?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, you do construction primarily.
Right.
Where do you
You're in
find
education?
education, but also international education development?
Right.
That kind of stuff.
So there's an agency called Careers and Nonprofits. That's one that comes to mind. But there are niche agencies. Finding them, it's actually a very good question. Recruiters, on my LinkedIn profile, I'll say recruiting and construction. They should have it listed typically, but there's also the firm I was at previously, that was just a hodgepodge. And just connecting with someone there, it opened you up to everything and nothing at the same time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that worked out really well for folks. So to answer your question, I would say go to LinkedIn, go to Google. I don't have a better answer, unfortunately. There's not a database of recruiting agencies.
What about, maybe familiar with Blue Steps?
I don't know it, no.
They purport to be a network of recruiters.
Oh, okay. Gotta get in the network.
Association, it's like the branded name for the acronym, which is like AES or something like that. So
Blue Steps, I'll check it out.
And of course they sell a membership to get access. The usual kind of
Probably why we're not in it.
And they sell that access, of course, to individuals who rightly or wrongly think that that's going to help them get a little bit closer to this supported network.
That sounds called
Blue Steps?
Yes.
And you said career for nonprofits, career of nonprofits?
Careers in nonprofits. And the reason I'm aware of them is they come to Career Network Ministry pretty frequently, so they're just...
So we collaborate, 40+ collaborates with them. We're working on another joint event with them, and they're right down the street.
I also, you can all connect with my friend at Hire Strategy also. Hire Strategy does a lot. I'll just pitch her because she knows where to send people. She's a very well-networked recruiter. Her name's April Sage. You can just, Jimmy told me to connect with you. It's fine.
And they also presented her 40 plus,
Oh, did they?
very popular, very effective tag team presentation last year as well.
Oh,
So we're
good.
very happy to work with Hire Strategy.
So when we approach a recruiter, what should we be bringing? How do we prepare for that? How do we do it?
Sure, if you're just kind of cold calling, reaching out.
If I were to reach out to careers in nonprofit, for instance.
Sure. So I just sent an email. So for instance, I was in the job search a little bit ago, and I found recruiters actually very helpful. But it was, I connected with the recruiter and said, hey, I don't know if I have the background you're looking for, but I am looking, so you know. And are they going to be responsive or not? We'll see. But I would say that's a start. It's easiest on LinkedIn. You can send an email with your resume, but if they don't reply, no harm done. I would not send a long letter. I would not send a cover letter. Those aren't read. I just say, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity. Love to connect. Plenty information. Yeah. Yes.
Who does April Sage work for?
She works for Hire Strategy.
On the flip side, if a recruiter contacts you, are there certain things we can look for to determine, because not all recruiters are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something we can look for to say that this recruiter really knows their business and will be worth working with? Or?
You know, I think there's warrant if you're really looking, like, so when I was looking for a job, I contacted a few recruiters, and truly, if it was helpful for them to know I was looking. That's kind of the way I took it. I didn't care how much they knew about what I was looking for or how much they knew about your client. If they could give me one more opportunity, great. If not, again, no harm done. That was my approach. Yes, there are recruiters, again, who specialize in certain fields. And when I was recruiting the one-off jobs in IT, I had no idea what I was recruiting for. But people still got placed through me. It's just something amazing. So I would say, don't say you're not worth my time, because that will put the phone down right away, right? Just be open and actually even some candidates coached me through their resume, and that was great. I didn't mind. So I would swing at every pitch. Is there another question? Okay, so let's look at LinkedIn very quickly. So this is the LinkedIn we all see, right? And Ron was talking about the let recruiters know you're open to opportunities button, just so you know where that is. Right.
If you didn't see it,
Yeah.
she's viewing her own profile.
Yes, this is my profile.
Yeah, but you said open the opportunities button. Where is that?
Let's see. I was going to show you. Maybe I can't find it.
Oh, okay.
That would be what happens.
That was right.
I thought it was at the top too.
Don't you have to go into
Do
your
you have to have a professional look on there for your resume? I mean, for the LinkedIn account? I mean,
Do you have to?
I mean, as a female, men have to see something.
I think it's helpful to have a photo that's at least, it doesn't have to be professional. My sister happens to be a photographer. She happened to be at an event. That's why mine is.
That's the Indeed site?
Sorry, this is LinkedIn. This is LinkedIn.
Oh.
Yes.
Why does it have the Indeed in there?
Oh, advertisements.
Okay.
Bombarded with something.
Don't you turn it on by clicking on the me?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes, that she did. And then maybe the second.
It used to be in
I think it's,
settings.
yeah.
Recently I saw it elsewhere.
V7 privacy.
Let's see. Yeah, someone tell me where it is now.
Profile viewing options?
I don't think that's.
Something more obvious.
There was recently on your profile, let recruiters know.
They keep moving those things
They
around.
keep
Yeah, they keep
killing
the whole
us.
thing, don't they?
Alright, so here, if I do this
All or
option,
nothing, huh?
I am now
Yeah,
in a
every
special
now.
section.
That's what I call user friendly, right? Well, once you get to it.
And job seeking purposes under privacy.
Alright.
Oh, okay.
That was it.
Alright, so you can move this back on. Thank you, everyone. LinkedIn expert now. So here's the other side of LinkedIn. This is what we pay for, your data. And this is how we find people. This is the first thing we do if we exhaust our media network, which is typically, hey, does anybody know? No? Okay. And you just go to LinkedIn. So who should we look for? Let's look for Ken.
No, let's look for Ron.
So you look for actual names of individuals?
No, we're going to look for someone like Ken. So Ken, you're a nonprofit executive? Association executive.
What is it called? What are we in right now?
Oh, you're not going to come
She's
here.
in her view.
I know,
I'm
that's
in
why I
the
was curious
recruiter.
about it. I might
She's
not ever see it
paying.
again.
This is big money over
To
here.
find us.
All right. So
What is it called though?
This is called LinkedIn Recruiter. It's called a
Recruiter?
recruiter seat. So if I'm looking for a nonprofit executive, there's a lot of you all.
Yeah.
Apparently. There's millions. So what do you think I'm going to look at first? Yeah.
But before you leave there, I noticed it says there's 2 million total candidates, it says 550,000 are more likely to respond. Is that looking at that switch? That's why they're saying they're more likely to respond?
I
or-
think that's the 400,000.
Yep. Exactly. So we
Just
get
saying they're all in your area, that's for sure.
let's just make the numbers a little smaller.
And also past applicants, is past applicants to you?
Yes.
There you go.
Oh.
That's
So-
more accurate.
So these are the total profiles on LinkedIn, right? 78,000 in the DC metro area, somehow match association executive. That doesn't mean they all truly match, but that's what LinkedIn came up with. And we can get very detailed very quickly. But I won't do that quite yet. These 21,000, those are the people who are on LinkedIn that do something. So most people.
okay.
I've talked to people that have no idea they have a LinkedIn profile. 2 years ago. And I'll find their phone number, like, I saw you on LinkedIn. This is my little brother, actually. He has a
How can they
profile.
on LinkedIn and not know they're on there?
Oh, it happens.
Created them.
All the time. Yeah.
Somebody else is doing it for you.
So there's plenty of those folks. There's about 21,000 of that, these 78,000 that might actually could respond to me. Okay, the open to opportunities. This is where recruiters go first because this is the low-hanging fruit. Now, 15,000 is way too many to contact, so we're just going to look at people who've worked at Deloitte and New
Don't
Zealand.
you type in zip code too, to narrow it down to?
You can search by zip code, but I won't do that yet.
Sorry, so you're clicking into the companies they work for.
Yep, so now we're just looking at companies current or past, if they work, so I'm only going to talk to people who've been at New Zealand and Deloitte. So that's all the hiring manager we're talking, and who went to the University of Maryland, and not a major university. Somebody said earlier. All right, so not many people are left. These 33 people, 160, I'm ignoring most of them initially.
Now you missed that on Ken though.
Ken's out.
Apparently you work at Booz Allen.
So these people, I know they've moved that little knob for us, and now they're open to opportunities. If we have a shared connection, they're more likely to rise. If they're really responsive, they're more likely to rise to the top.
So just very quick,
Yes.
so open to new opportunities is moving that switch or it's saying it somewhere in their text?
Good question. It's moving that switch. So this is all based on that switch that you just moved. If I did not have this recruiter seat and I wanted to search LinkedIn, I could go back here and just write, which many recruiters do, right? And then
So it actually has to say
some
that
people I
in
know
there.
would come up here. Yeah.
Has to say.
So this is what we see. This is kind of how we operate. I will probably, if I'm lazy, go to this person first, connect with her, or I'll send her a message. This is what we see beyond that. All right, these are the type of opportunities you're open to. Great. These are the locations. Great. All this stuff. The more you give me, the more helpful it is.
How was that sorted? Was that alphabetical or?
No, it's
activity?
based on, so I'd asked LinkedIn before, and this was a year ago, they always change it, but they said it was based on activity,
Okay.
based on likelihood that they come back or based on their activity in the past.
Does that also mean posting articles and sharing?
Yes, yeah. So you get rewarded for being active on their network.
So I have a question.
Yes, of course.
So, like where it
Yeah.
says open to new opportunities
Yes.
there, and it's got roles, locations, et cetera. Is that something that Christina put into her LinkedIn profile?
Yes, that's something she did on the back end, I guess, in that settings section. Yes.
Oh, okay. And where it says what kind of job types she's willing to do and that kind of.
And this stuff, as this always changes, so the real time, how you do it, I unfortunately can't tell you right now, but somebody will know on Google and you'll know in a second.
So Carolina or Korea? She's ready to go to Carolina or Korea. Very Korea.
Sounds like mine, yeah.
She's adventurous. She has no idea we're looking at her profile right now.
She'll be happy to know.
What other questions about this, what we see, or about, I guess, recruiting in general? Can
No, I
answer?
know what PKI
We're coming
stands
toward the end. Yes, John.
On the activity piece, are some kinds of activities, will they make your activity index higher? Like, if you post an article, is that better than just tweaking your profile?
I don't know the answer truly.
Come back next month. Colleen will know the answer.
Colleen will know. Okay.
What is recruiting activity? What does that mean?
So that's based on what my company's done so far. So, we'll search construction. You'll see the active stuff. So we're gonna look. So I'll show you kind of if somebody's been recruited a lot by my company. So we work as a company, kind of on a company team, so that's thousands of people worldwide, since I work for a large agency now. It shows I can see that two people, the lady I work with in Houston has looked at his profile before. It tracks that only on the recruiter side. And it looks like she wrote him a message. So I can follow up and say, hey, my friend Kirsty wrote you a message, or my friend Scott wrote you a message. Yes.
Where it says contact info?
Yes.
There? Can you see that?
Let's see.
Oh my.
Yes, I can. So you probably should be nice to put that down. So that's based on integration that companies have with LinkedIn, and it's company by company. So yes, your data is sellable. If on my profile, for instance, I have my phone number and my email. If you link in with me, you can call me. If you link in with me and you're a recruiter, you can put that in your database, and LinkedIn will save it as well. So it's always there.
So a recruiter can only see that contact info
if someone in their company is linked in first degree with them. So in this case, Kirsty is linked in with him.
So when it said your connections and it's looking at cross connections, it was the company, not you personally.
So this person is second degree, so it looks like one of the recruiters I work with is a second degree, and they inputted that information based on their first degree connection. Did that make sense?
I was second degree to you.
Second degree to me, but since the first degree saved it, now it's visible to all of us. That didn't make enough sense. Ish, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm fuzzy on the word, but not too much.
When I set up my LinkedIn account about 10 years ago, I set up one with my personal address and one with my work email address, and they're both still there. Is there any way you can merge them?
Ooh, I don't know. LinkedIn person's
That is a
coming
LinkedIn
soon.
question, yeah. Can you
I
do that?
don't know.
And
You know how to do it?
I do not. No,
No,
Colleen
I-
does.
Yeah.
And she's, because she's covered that in the day long program, she's done that. Lori knows how to do that.
Well, I know how to delete.
You don't
Especially
delete
if
both
you
one
can't
of them?
There are different networks of people.
So you want to merge?
Yeah, you might have to call customer service and they'll have to do it for you.
Merge the,
Yeah, to be honest, I'd reach out to Colleen and say you read from
Probably
A+,
answer your credit card number
and
first.
have that question. Just reach out to Colleen McKenna. I'll give you the flyer again, and yeah, she gets that question all the time. Great.
Any other questions?
So there won't be another LinkedIn, conference, thing here until May?
May 16th, 17th.
So,
Right around the corner.
3 or 4 weeks, yeah.
But you can also, so for those of you who may not know, thanks to Jim, we have an extraordinary reservoir of YouTube content. So you can go to YouTube, or you can go to our homepage, and right at the top, there's a YouTube icon. Click on that YouTube icon, and it'll bring up probably now about 100 videos that we've created from these programs and then our Monday morning programs, including sessions we've had on LinkedIn. And at least once every 2 months, we have a session on LinkedIn. So, and you can watch, just like we're doing tonight, watch that content through YouTube. So take a look at our YouTube channel, search for LinkedIn, and you'll see all that content that's there. So, Jenny, thank you very much. Please join me in thanking Jenny. And we have a couple of mementos for you to reside on your desk and remind, all your colleagues that they should come talk to us here at 40 Plus as well. All right, and we have a quick contest, the door prize. So in addition to LinkedIn, LinkedIn, of course, is an app, can be an app as well, and there's apps for everything. So our colleague, Beth Zinas, wrote this book on the big book of apps, A to Z. All right, so the way we're going to do this is, what month are we in? April? Not too much time left. April